Hi, welcome back to Filipino Time. Today we have a special unboxing as we talk to a real vintage watch junkie. Stay tuned. So we're here today with our good friend Japs, and
Hi guys.
some of you might be wondering, who is this guy? But if you're one of the 50,000 followers of Vintage Watch Junkie on Facebook, well, this is the man behind the account. So welcome, Japs.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
So you brought with us a nice assortment of watches, and we've arranged them throughout the decades.
Yep.
But before we talk about the watches themselves, I wanted to talk about your journey into collecting vintage watches. So how did it all get started?
All right. So it started off by following a couple of vintage watch pages, I guess 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
So there was this one auction that I've seen. I just forgot the watch that was auctioned off during that time, but I was intrigued, so I tried to review about it. And only that time that I realized that vintage watches appeals to me more than the modern watches.
I see.
So from there, sabi ko I wanted to collect. But unfortunately, here in the Philippines, it's quite hard to look for vintage watches around.
That's true.
So I tried to source from the outside. So I looked online, I looked from the forums, met a couple of guys in the forums, and then eventually connected with them directly. So from there, I was able to purchase my first batch of watches.
Batch talaga, ha?
Yes.
Not just one, ha?
First watch, and then couple of months after that, siguro batches of watches.
Okay.
So, yan, from there, lumaki na lang siya bigla. And then, one day, just realized I have plenty of watches in my room. So, sabi ko, I need to find a way to dispose it for me to be able to have the room to acquire for new ones.
As we said, unload to reload, right?
Yes, unload to reload. So that's when I decided to open or create my vintage watch page, which is called Vintage Watch Junkie.
But what would you say attracted you to vintage watches in the first place? Is it the look? Is it the history?
For me, kasi I'm not really a technical person.
Okay.
Really,
Neither am I.
Yeah. What appeals to me really is the look, and at the same time the story behind it.
I see.
So when I get attracted to a certain watch, the next thing that I will do is I would look and search for the history of the watch or the brand. So that gives, that boosts my interest more of the watch.
So it's watch first, research later.
Yes, watch first or watch first and then research and then buy.
And then buy, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So interest muna, diba?
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Okay. So we've got stuff from the 40s until the 70s here.
Right.
So
yes.
let's take a trip.
All right.
We'll start with the 40s. So first you have here, it's a Venus watch from the 1940s. Obviously, it's got some really good wear on it. So tell us a little bit about this watch.
All right. So it's a Venus from the 1940s. Okay. I'm not sure, but it's a military watch yata.
Okay.
Yeah. What's interesting about that piece is that it says anti-magnetic.
Yes, that's right.
Before, kasi back in the day, it was a big deal for watch companies to have the word anti-magnetic written on their dials. Because during the Industrial Revolution, we're talking trains, cars, and all that produces magnetic field that interrupts or somehow affects the accuracy of the movement.
Okay.
Yeah. So the magnetism really is one of the priorities of the watch companies during that time. So they really take pride on putting anti-magnetic on their dials.
It was a really big selling point, I guess,
Yes,
at the time.
yes, it was. Especially back in the day when accuracy, for example, in the trains is very important. So it's very important that watch is non-magnetic so that it doesn't interfere in the accuracy of the watches.
Right. You also had a funny story about an for this watch.
Yeah, very good marketing because the way they market their brand is that they have this one slogan or one phrase. It says, "Venus, the only planet rotating clockwise."
Very good.
So yes, very good.
Very catchy, huh?
Yes,
very catchy. So the next watch here is a Dogma. It doesn't say so though on the dial. It just says waterproof.
Right.
And this is also a military watch?
It's a military watch from the 1940s as well. So I don't know the reason why it is unbranded, but the movement, when I look at it inside, it says Dogma.
Okay.
Okay, so Dogma military watches pretty much was made for the Swiss Army.
This one, okay,
Yeah.
Swiss Army.
And Dogma is not around anymore, actually.
I see.
Yeah,
And
it died in
didn't
the Quartz
become-
Revolution.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a bit about this quartz revolution? Because we've been talking about this the whole day.
Okay, so back in the 1970s, there's this one thing called the Quartz Revolution, wherein watches are turning their heads on the mechanical watches and then
Moving towards.
Quartz.
I see.
So, if let's say for example, in a scale, if there's 1,000 watchmakers, all of those 1,000 wanted to go to quartz, but some of those don't have the technology for it. So that they basically died
So
during
there's
the
no
transition.
market for the mechanical watches anymore. Everything was quartz already.
For a decade there wasn't,
good
because
decade.
it was all quartz watches. I remember this one article, or I mean an ad in a newspaper,
Okay.
wherein Seiko launched their first digital watch alongside with Omega Speedmaster, and the Seiko digital watch was more expensive than the Speedmaster.
Wow.
So you don't see that. You cannot make that up.
No.
Yeah.
Wow. So, well, now you mentioned about the dial being without a logo on it. Because I'm wearing a military watch myself now. This is a 1973 Benris. And it could be that for some military issues, I guess they removed the logo. Could be the case.
Yeah, it could possibly be the case. And one more thing, the reason why I like that watch is because it's the closest that I could get into an actual Dirty Dozen. Yeah, because the dial is pretty much the same with the Dirty Dozen.
And it's era correct, 1940s, right?
Yeah.
World War II.
Correct.
Very cool. So speaking of the Dirty Dozen, just in case viewers don't know what it is, what is the Dirty Dozen?
So basically, Dirty Dozen, there was this time before in the World War II wherein the British Army commissioned 12 watch brands,
Okay.
including IWC, Longines,
Omega.
and all that.
Yeah.
And they asked those brands to create or make a watch that is of the same face, but they can put their name
On
brand.
it.
Yeah, on it.
I see.
So those are made in quantities, so they're very limited.
Right.
There are some which are made only for 1,000, 1,500. There are some that was made for 11,000.
So it depends on the contract that they will get, I guess.
Yes. So it's an elusive chase if you would try to complete it now, because obviously they were used in the war.
Yes.
So pretty much some of those owners of those watches are pretty much dead now. So
I guess so.
that makes it hard now.
Have you ever seen one in the flesh?
Yes, it was, I think last year. A uncle of a very good friend has a Dirty Dozen, which was he bought in a thrift market in Baguio.
Lucky guy.
So yeah, lucky guy. And I guess the seller wasn't really aware of what he was selling. So, and luckily for the guy, he knew about the Dirty Dozen, so he grabbed it right away.
So if I go on eBay or something, would I be able to find any of those watches?
Yes, you can find it on eBay, but I'm just not sure if you can find it in a very good condition. And
that makes
the
sense.
price range is really off the charts.
For all of them, I guess.
No, for a piece.
I mean,
Especially for the rare ones, they're very expensive.
for the ones that are small batches only, I guess.
Yes, right.
Wow.
So, habang wala pa akong dirty dozen, yan muna yung dirty dozen ko for the moment.
So I guess the Dirty Dozen's also on your radar. How you'd love to.
Yes, it is.
Good luck. I hear it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's not that easy. There's only 2 in the world that was able to complete the dirty dozen. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing.
There should be one Filipino to be able to do it.
Well, challenge accepted, guys. Well, at least you have this one. And it's a nice piece. So moving forward, you have this Zenith.
Yep.
So Zenith is a brand that at least I'm relatively familiar with. The first one that we've seen so far. Also from the 40s?
From the 40s as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So tell us about the Zenith.
So the main reason why I was, attracted with the brand is because of its connection with the Rolex Daytona.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Basically, Zenith has a very good reputation back in the day. They're, in terms of precision, kumbaga, they're one of those that's on the top in terms of precision kasi they're really making very good movements. So, and very good to the point that they were commissioned by Rolex to create a movement for their Daytona.
Yeah.
So that's basically the reason why I fell in love with the brand.
With this particular watch, anything we should look out for this, or why this is special for you?
Okay, it's a manual wind watch. Okay. So actually, when you, for those who are planning to get a vintage watch,
Yes.
you first have to know about the basics: manual wind, automatic watches, because some of those, particularly to those who customers that I've had in my page, they were complaining na pag dumating yung watch sa kanila, it's not working. So manual wind watches, it gives you a certain connection kasi with the watch when you wind it manually. So particularly with this watch, it's one of the watches that I've had for a long time. So I've really had the time to really, connect with it more frequently. And as old as it is, dumating sa point nun before that I use it on a daily basis. And
nice.
it didn't fail me once. Not once.
Galing.
So very, very much reliable.
So do you manually wind your watches often, or?
Yeah, we have a schedule. So we wind it on every Sunday.
Okay.
So if you can imagine, if I have like 100 watches, I would,
Manually wind.
consume my Sunday morning winding all of them. Yeah, that's my routine.
Yeah, your ritual for Sunday.
Yep.
You're also wearing a 1940s watch on your wrist.
Yes.
So what is this?
It's a vintage Omega from the 1940s. So the
It's
reason,
really cool. Is that like a gray dial, or?
yeah. It's gray. And it has the old logo pa eh. So kung makikita mo, yung writing is very, very consistent with the old ones on how they write the Omega phrase.
I see.
So the reason why I love this watch is that it's very small, very easy on the watch. Minsan parang hindi mo na-feel that you have that you have your watch on your wrist, and very reliable for an 80-year-old watch, almost 80-year-old watch.
Yeah, 80-year-old watch.
It's very reliable and easy to wear.
Well, you mentioned the size, and well, obviously I'm a big guy, so anything smaller than maybe a 38 is not good for me. But it looks good on you.
Yeah, good thing I have a smaller wrist, so it goes well.
We got one watch from the 50s,
Right?
and it's this Seema. Tell us about the Seema.
All right. So Seema, it's a Seema bumper automatic from the 1950s.
So when you say bumper, what do you mean?
Yeah. For us to get the appreciation of the bumper automatic, we have to know the history muna of the automatic watches.
Okay.
So, before kasi back in 1923, there was this man. His name is John Hartwood.
Hardwood, okay.
Okay, he patented the first automatic watch. Wristwatch.
Wristwatch,
Okay. It was a bumper automatic wristwatch.
So the first automatic was a bumper.
Yeah. But it wasn't until 1928 when they were able to produce the actual automatic watch for the masses, for selling, for the market. But there's an intrigue, actually, there's an interesting catch in that, kumbaga, history of the automatic. A couple of years after that, 1930s, 1931, Rolex came up with a better or more improved automatic movement. Which wherein they didn't use the bumper.
Okay.
They used a half circle rotor that rotates 360 degrees.
And the bumper only does
270 degrees.
270.
So it goes from one edge to the other. So it's really, if you shake it, you'll hear it bumping. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There you go. So Rolex came up with a better idea of having a half-circled rotor that rotates 360 degrees. That way, it will be more efficient to the kumbaga parang gathering the movement of your wrist.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I understand.
360. It rotates 360 degrees. So, of course, John Hartwood reacted on that one kasi they claimed, Rolex claimed that they have the very first automatic watches produced. So it's
marketing.
It's actually Oyster Perpetual.
Oyster Perpetual.
Yeah. So John Hartwood reacted, and then he showed them the patent
Of the bumper.
Shortly after that naman, Rolex naman acknowledge it.
Okay.
So they acknowledge it, and they admit that the very first automatic watches was from Hartwood.
Okay.
Yeah.
At least they retracted, right? At least.
And very interesting about it is that it's a 1950s watch, but they still use the bumper automatic instead of the Rolex's 360-degree rotor.
Oh yeah, because you said the 20s really had the 360 rotor.
Right. So it just really gives you the idea na Hardwood, kumbaga, it pays tribute to the work of Hardwood. Kasi they can do automatic watches that are half circle rotor and 360 degrees, but they chose to do the bumper automatic. And other two brands that I know that they're using that are Lecoultre.
Lecoultre. Okay.
And Omega. 60s Omega in
Even
particular.
from the 60s?
Yeah.
I see. But I guess now modern day watches,
wala na yata.
Okay. Well, that's really cool. Well, thanks for the history lesson.
Yep.
So, on to the 60s? Okay. We have a trio of watches from the 60s. A Darwell, a Cortebert, and a Dugena?
Dugena.
Okay. Just want to make sure I pronounce that correctly. This Darwell, it's really cool because I can see how thin this watch is. What do they call this watch?
It's a special flat lux.
Flat lux.
Yeah, it stands by its name. It's flat. It's very slim, and it's a very good wristwatch. Ano tawag mo sa kanya? Dress watch.
Yeah, it's a nice little dress watch.
That brand, the reason why it's very siguro significant to me is that the very first vintage watch that I got was a Darwell Special Flat Lux.
Oh, do you still have that watch?
No, wala na. Nasira na siya eh. Parang I forgot what happened to it, pero hindi ko na siya, I couldn't revive it anymore.
Oh, shucks.
Naging ano na lang siya, parts.
Oh God, okay. All right.
So it's very significant to me because it's the very first vintage watch that the brand. That brand was the very first vintage watch that I got, and for the price that is under 5,000 pesos, that gives you the feel of having a parang luxury dress watch. It was for me a bang for the buck.
Under 5,000.
Yeah.
But it's a nice looking watch.
Yep.
And I keep going back to how flat it is.
Imagine how they were able to fit the movement in that.
Automatic.
Yep. No, manual wind. Yeah.
But still.
Yep.
In this, it's amazing. That's really amazing. Darwell is made where?
Swiss.
It's also a Swiss watch. And are they still around today?
They died in the quartz revolution.
Another
unfortunately.
casualty.
Another casualty. So they're no longer existing right now.
Well, this next watch might be my favorite watch in your collection. One, because of how it looks, this Cortebert. It's very distinct, the design, right? And I love this train on the case back. So tell us about the Cortebert.
All right. So Cortebert is a brand before that is known for its precision, accuracy. And that's the main reason why the Turkish Railway commissioned them to produce Turkish Railway watches. And that's one of those.
This is a Turkish Railway watch.
Yes.
So this train in the back
Right.
would be a Turkish train.
Yep.
That's really cool. And also it says anti-magnetic.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
anti-magnetic also because it's very important. Precision is very important, especially in the railway. So it's very important that nothing interrupts the accuracy of the movement of the watches.
Yeah.
And Cortebert has that reputation of being very, very accurate. In fact, they were also commissioned by Rolex for some time to produce movements for them.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so imagine the reputation of that brand. So they were actually not just the Turkish Railway, but also the Italian Railway. They were also commissioned. Unfortunately, they couldn't carry the name, the Cortebert name for the Italy. So I think they carried it in a different name.
I see.
In Italy, yeah.
And is this brand still around?
No, it's no longer around.
I see. That's a shame. But this is a very, very cool watch. It's really nice looking. It's, as you can see from all these other watches, it's very unique. So that leads me to the last 60s watch, which is the Dugena.
Yep.
So what's special about the Dugena?
All right, so Dugena, I don't know if you're familiar with the brand Alpina.
Yes.
Yep. Dugena was the former Alpina.
Oh, so
So-
Alpina became Dugena.
Yep. Before they weren't allowed to. The Allies wouldn't allow Alpina to produce watches for the I think the German.
Okay.
So they tried to make a way for them to be able to produce watches, and they name it under Dugena. So Dugena is actually an acronym.
For?
I forgot the German phrase
Actually,
for it,
uh-huh.
but it translates in English as German watchmaker Alpina.
Oh, so it's
Yeah.
still basically Alpina.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you can see, the dial is very interesting because it's a linen dial.
Yes. Very beautiful.
Linen kasi you see it in luxury watches back in the day.
That's right.
So it's very interesting that they have it for a brand that is parang ano lang naman, mid or entry level brand.
For the price.
They have the linen on their dial. It's very good.
So I find it very interesting, all this changing of names and what you can sell in what country. And so between the Cortebert and this watch, that's really interesting. So on to the 70s. And we have a last trio of watches, a Gigande,
Gigande or Gigande?
Gigande,
Yeah.
okay, a Bulova, and a, sorry, you're gonna have to help me again,
Huguenot.
Huguenot.
Yep.
It's spelled Huguenin, but it's pronounced Huguenot. Okay. This Gigande actually, aside from the Cortebert, is probably the other most striking watch in your collection. The look is very, very distinct, I guess I would say. Tell me about this Gigande.
All right. That particular model is actually commissioned for the Munich Summer Olympics in Germany.
Ah.
That's why it has the Olympics logo.
Yeah,
at
the rings in the back.
Case back, yeah. So Gigande as a brand, it was owned by Charles Gigande, who was the owner also of Walkman of USA.
Walkman.
Yeah, Walkman is a watch brand also that specializes chronograph watches.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gigande is goes in the same breath with Breitling in terms of history because mainly since the owner of Gigante is Walkman, and then Walkman is the distributor of Breitling in the USA. Since Breitling wasn't allowed to bring their watches in the US, what they did was they brought the parts in the US via Walkman. Walkman assembled it and they put their names in it. So
But as Breitling or as
Walkman.
As Walkman.
Yep. Breitling movement and all the parts.
Yep.
But Walkman name.
Wow.
Yeah.
So not just change names. Now we're talking about bringing it in as parts and selling it as a different name. So as a 70s watch, and wait, where was this made?
It's considered a Swiss watch.
It's considered a Swiss watch.
Yeah, it's a Swiss watch.
But Walkman is American.
Yes. It's American brand.
American brand. Interesting. And I didn't get to ask this of your other watches, but what was the process in buying this watch?
Oh, okay.
Like, where did you find it, and how did you make the decision?
Yeah. There's this one friend of mine in Serbia who I met in the forums.
Okay. Serbia. Wow.
Yeah. And we exchange siguro yung mga na-accumulate namin ng mga latest watches that we have, and then we share it with each other. And let's say, for example, may nagustuhan ako sa kanya, I would ask him if he wants to sell it to me. And I came across that one. At first, he wasn't really willing to sell it to me.
Right.
But I was able to really give him a great deal. So, napapayag ko siya. And then, from there, nakuha ko siya.
That's cool.
Yep.
And then you shipped it over and...
Yep.
Very cool. Right, on to the Bulova.
Yep.
So Bulova is a American brand?
Right now, it's an American brand.
Yes.
But before, it was Swiss.
It was a Swiss brand before. Right.
Oh, what's interesting about that Bulova is that it's an automatic watch, but it's a bit slimmer as compared to the other vintage watches that are automatic.
Yeah.
The reason being is that it has a micro rotor. It's called micro rotor. So yung typical na rotor kasi it's on top of the movement, diba?
Okay.
That occupies half of the size of the movement.
Uh-huh.
With micro rotor, it's a small half circle rotor that occupies 1/4 of the movement.
Oh, wow.
It still rotates 360 degrees, but the rotor is very small.
Wow.
Yep. That's why it's all they were able to make it
that thin.
that thin. Yeah.
Did any other watch brands use a micro rotor?
I'm really not sure.
That's very
Pero
interesting.
mostly kasi Bulova lang talaga yung
Bulova
nakita
talaga.
ko na may micro rotor.
Galing, ah. That's really cool. And our last watch is a Huguenot.
Huguenot.
Okay. So what's special about the Huguenot?
Okay. Huguenot watch brand, actually, before they became a watch brand, they were specializing in making watch cases.
All right. So just the cases.
Yep. Silver watch cases in particular.
Silver
for
watch
pocket
cases.
watches.
Okay.
Okay. But since the transition from pocket watch to wrist watches, naging limited yung market nila because from transition ng pocket watch to wrist watch, yung dating silver became stainless.
Right. That's right.
So they had limited market during that time. So they decided, sige mag-ano tayo. Let's get into watches naman. So for a couple of decades, it was okay naman until it was bought by Hamilton. That's why if you can notice, it shares the same H logo with the Hamilton.
That's right.
Yeah.
Huh. But so did they also manufacture their own movement or?
I think they source it,
out
somewhere else. Yeah. But the case is their, kasi yun yung pride and glory nila.
That's
so
right.
They have the case with them.
So this is now Hamilton.
Yep.
Or rather, Hamilton
yeah.
would be the successor sort of this watch.
Although Huguenot is still existing until now, but they transitioned to coins and medals.
But is that under the original Huguenot or is that?
Yes.
So not under Hamilton.
They partnered with another company. I forgot the name. And right now they're creating yun nga, mga coins and medals.
So it's really metal work talaga.
Yes, gold, silver, bronze.
That's really cool. So we went through 4 decades of watches, chaps. Which is your favorite decade?
For me, it would be the 1960s.
The 60s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kasi doon nangyari yung transition, almost transition from mechanical to quartz revolution. A lot of watches died in the early 70s. So if you want to see them complete, they were complete back in the 60s pa eh. Intact pa silang lahat. So almost all the brands that you can think about, meron pa during the 60s.
Wow, so after this,
after the 70s,
nawala.
medyo madami na talagang nawala.
That's sad. Yeah. And I know we talked about the Dirty Dozen, but what's your Grail watch, or what's the watch you're looking for now?
Okay, so I'm eyeing for the 1969 Zenith El Primero, the very first one. Yeah.
Very nice.
Right now, I don't have access of it yet, but in the future, yun talaga yung goal ko. And siguro in the future, if I get that one, although I don't want to, ayoko magsalita ng tapos, no? But I think if I get that one, that would be my, siguro, nth or my very satisfaction in terms of collecting vintage watches.
At least for a while.
Yeah, at least for a while, yeah. Pag nagsawa na, baka...
Iba naman.
Well,
there you have it, guys. We just went through 4 decades of vintage watches with our man Japs. Check out his page, Vintage Watch Junkie. And I'm Ferds. Thanks for watching.